we have that demolition ordinance, which does not have, what we had hoped a few years ago, which is the demolition delay. Could you just tell us a little bit about how that would fit in with the historic task force? And this seems like a really needed thing. I'm hoping it addresses a lot of those concerns that Freda raises about, accessibility. Just, I went through the memo and it seemed like it did, but David, I didn't know if you had anything to add, or just, is it possible that now that we have an ordinance, we might eventually be able to update this too, in light of what we're hoping to accomplish with historic properties? So kind of a long question there.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that's been needed and been discussed before in the past. But as far as Historic Preservation Task Force, it's something that we have discussed as a possible inclusion if we do overlay districts at some point. So it has been discussed, but I think it wouldn't be part of this demolition ordinance. It would be part of a overlay district in an area. So it has been discussed. We'll continue to look at that. But I don't think it'd be just an over throughout the city ordinance change like this is, because this is really straightening out what should have been done a while ago, because a lot of these questions have been coming for years about what you do on sites for demolition and the dust and all those type of things. So it's definitely good for the city. We'll definitely have less issues, but hopefully in the future we'll be addressing an actual delay at some point, given the right conditions and the right overlay.
Thanks, David. And then Renee, do you know, it struck me that it talked about making sure that there are, I guess, more, whatever, making sure that pedestrian access is considered with these demos. So, and of course, construction is different than demolition, but is there anything more that we can communicate to people about what this means in terms of pedestrian access or protection?
I can check with Kathy to see exactly what the action steps are going to be, but I know the idea was that we're going to be getting more guidance and enforcing it. So
okay.
I don't, I imagine code enforcement would be involved in that.
Okay. I do think just having been downtown again recently, there still is a lot of construction activity, and I haven't been the best in keeping up with our active transportation plan. I don't know if that addresses some of those issues about mobility, but you can see that it is scattershot. Some places are good and some are bad. So I think, especially as we approach, winter, we should, maybe it'd be good to have a report on that. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Not today, but I think if we had an update on that, sometimes I feel a little bit at sea as to where we're at and how it could best be addressed. So
yeah, we can do that. And I know, Patrick Fisher had provided a grant to some artists to help us put together like an infographic for construction projects. And John Tushak was working with them. He was really excited about that project. And I don't even know the status of it myself because I've been so busy with other stuff. So
I know.
I think an update's a good idea, and we can get together and talk about that. And in fact, maybe I can even have somebody come to one of the council briefings on Fridays and share that, or do you want to have somebody come to caucus at the next meeting?
Whatever it works for you. I've been working most Fridays.
Oh, okay.
And I'm doing it again this Friday, so I've been missing those. But maybe, maybe there were. Presenting it at the Friday briefings would be good, but then maybe just a short recap for people who can't attend there. Maybe even, I don't know if maybe that might be something, Lori might be able to do, or our new person. Well, we can think of other ways to communicate, and because certainly we want to keep up the ways to keep in touch with each other. Yeah. Thanks, Renee. I appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah.
Renee, has there been any contact with Chris Friday at Erie Parking Authority? I don't know. I haven't received anything. Just wonder if there's been any other communication.
Yeah, we've been working with him. We're kind of trading financial information back and forth. He's working
Okay.
on an estimate for the proposal that he presented so that we can get a better handle on what that would look like financially for both sides.
Yeah, that's good. I know you were trading data before, so it's good to get that straight. You can't do much without the right numbers. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to have as accurate a picture as possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I did ask Paul Lichtenwalter if where we were at with that, and it has been included in our budget book that we get $400,000 from the parking authority. Whether all that's going to come to fruition, it's hard to say yet, but right now it's in our budget book that we're going to get $400,000. So hopefully it comes true. We have a, what's that? You'll be fine. Not a doubt in my mind.
Well, I'm trying to change the website somehow.
I don't hear anything on my phone.
Are you muted?
You might be. I might be muted. Can you guys hear me by chance?
Mike?
Thank you. I don't know if you guys heard me earlier. I did talk to Paul Lichtenwalter regarding the parking. Okay, thanks. Just so council is aware also, there's a few seats that need to be filled on various boards that we maybe we'll discuss them during our finance meeting, or I'll send or have Lori send out a list of the possible openings. I know Mr. Keys asked if he could have a sewer authority appointment. I had no problem with that, but there is numerous other ones that we do have to get filled. So we'll reach out with you guys on that.
Thanks, Jim. I think it would be helpful too, even to have, I know that the mayor's office has been working on, because it's like a huge animal to wrestle with all those appointments, but it might be helpful to also look into early, into 2021. And to remember that we did pass the resolution from David Brennan about advertising those openings. So thanks for, I think it would be good to have that information at our fingertips. And I know how hard it is, since I have, I've gone through that authority sheet that we get, but I usually just do it year by year and circle them. So, and then we had some that actually, I think, were unexpected because the terms weren't up, but the people have left. So I think that would be really helpful. And David, can you just recap what our resolution was, so we remind ourselves about appointments?
Yeah, well, a lot of the work has been done by Renee and everyone working with her is to make it all public, to describe each of the authorities, what they do, what the current terms are, who's on the board. We don't yet have a section, and again, correct me, Renee, if I'm wrong here, to say what the latest openings are, besides just listening to board members. So I don't know what the next step would be, Renee, to be able to make this public.
Yeah. So right now on the website, this is kind of an interim step until we can build out something better. But we have the most of the authorities, boards, and commissions listed now on a page, and then you can click on each one and you can see who's on the board, what the terms are, what the authority does. There are links to their minutes, lists when their public meetings are. And so then what I'm doing, I'm almost done with it, is then a Google sheet with all of the authorities, the members that you appoint and the members that we appoint, so that we can see when the terms are expiring. And what I was thinking was, since it's already so late in 2020, that we could advertise all the positions that have expired and those that will be expiring in 2021, so that we can receive applications now and we'll be ahead of the game. And then what the mayor's office has done historically once so far, but going forward, is that we review the applications that we get for the positions that the mayor appoints. We do interviews with those folks who have the skill sets that the executive directors have identified that they need, which is also going to be in the spreadsheet, which I'm going to share with Lori when it's complete. And then from the interviews, we determine who's the best fit and make the appointments from. So what we would do is any applications, what we ask for is a resume and a letter of interest for serving on this, specific authority, board, or commission. Whatever we get for any positions that you appoint, we would just send those over to Lori to distribute to you. And then I know, Dave, I still plan to write this up for you, but then you guys can figure out how if you're going to interview, if you're going to have like a committee or something that goes through the applications, or if you're going to have, I know you're each liaisons to certain authorities, boards, and commissions. So I guess you need to figure out how you're going to do yours. But at least that way, if you know of somebody who wants to serve on the sewer authority or the airport authority, or, you can share with them the City Grows link so that they can go ahead and put their application in. So that way we have everything in one place.
Yeah, and that's why I was looking for some type of procedure so that we could discuss as a council, because right now we have a system where of course we work with the president. The president, we kind of see who has the next appointment. So there's somewhat of a system, but if we could just kind of talk about an approach and maybe refine or do what we can to speak as a council to come together and decide what we want to do.
I think a committee approach would be great with the liaison person on that committee, a 3-person committee. I know Kathy Schaaf and I have reviewed resumes for several appointments, and it's tough doing it as a 1-person reviewer. I think that if we had a committee or knew that the process was committee driven, then that process is in place and we have some criteria in terms of expertise, making the appointments reflect the people in our community. And, again, since we're going to look, thank you for doing the long view too, Renee. I really appreciate that. I think one thing, maybe we can, I don't know how we would do this, but that EMTA situation, which was both city and county. It was controversial, but I wonder if there's anybody from there who's on the board who might say maybe a takeaway from that or what we learned from that. That was the most highly visible one. And each board and authority, they perform different functions. But we also know that there are sometimes people who people have to know what their commitment is in terms of time and going to the meetings. I think it's probably easier now that even post-pandemic that, if we can continue to have some of those virtually or always virtual that the public can attend, that might open up new possibilities too. So I'm really excited about, it's a long haul, but we're getting there. So.
Yep. Thank you, Renee, for all your work there and everyone, all your team.
Happy to do it.
Okay. Mel is trying to get on. I just called him. He's trying to get on.
He talked to Pat, but he told you.
My phone didn't go off.
Are we done caucusing or?
You can be. We still have a few minutes, so before we're not normally early for a council.
Dance bar. Lori. Anyone got music? Lori, you have music?
I'm still trying to go on.
You want me to call him, you say?
Can you have, oh my,
Mike, what's your number?
48875.
8875.
Renee, do you remember how many Port Authority people were needed? It seemed, I was reviewing some the other day, and it seemed like there were quite a few on there that needed
If you want to
assignments.
apply, if you can't get
Yeah,
on.
actually, there's a real problem with the Port.
You're on?
And so,
Yeah.
like, the majority of the board was gonna come up because of things that happened over the years. And so what we're gonna do
When
is
you're
actually
unmuted,
kind of
the red
reconfigure
line
that
goes
the way we
through your
did with EMTA to
microphone.
stagger those who are going off. So we'll be appointing 2 new people this year. And then the rest will be staggered with, 3 going off in 21, 3 in 22, 3 in 23. So that you don't have, I think it was like 6 or 7
Can't hear
expirations.
right now.
So we can't do that. There would be no
Okay.
historical context
Now I
or
got it.
anything. So
That easy.
we're gonna
Not muted.
we're gonna
Okay,
fix
good.
that.
And Renee, on that regard, do you pick those people, or does council have an appointment on there?
The Port Authority is the mayor's.
Okay.
Yes, we don't have any appointments to the Port Authority. I think it's, is it the mayor, the county, and the governor, Renee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Actually, I misspoke. It's the mayor and the governor. It's just the mayor and the governor. The Erie
Thank
County
you.
Convention Center Authority is also county. That's
Yeah.
them.
It's one of those things where we might, I'm trying to be very optimistic this morning, so I'm thinking we might benefit from doing some civic education too. We have the Jefferson, we had the young Erie professionals appear before us. We have other, we have the, Black businesses on Wall Street in Erie. We have, the mayor's various councils, even SPCP, where we could reach out and say, this is how government functions. It's not just council and the mayor in, in the city, but there's also these boards and authorities. So I'm trying to think ahead to how you've done so much on engagement, but it's never going to be done. We still have to keep working on that.
I agree with you. And I think, I think a study session might be a good place to start. After the first of the year, maybe.
Yeah.
To explain all that, because if you're not in it, you don't know.
No.
All these different
We're on
things.
council, and I blanked out on the Port Authority, even though I used to have that right at my fingertips. So
Yeah.
There's no other discussion, council. I believe we can get our meeting going here.
Roll call, city council meeting of Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Mr. Bernard, Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Key, Mrs. Shaw, and Mr. Witherspoon. Please stand for a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion to accept the minutes from October 7th, 2020 meeting and November 13th.
I don't know if you're unmuted or not.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yep.
Motion to accept the minutes from October 7th, 2020, city council meeting and bills for payment on November 6th and November 13th. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, and Mr. Winarski. We have one letter from a repository sale. It's from Mr. Robert Steinder regarding the property at 3003 Brandis. Please be advised, I wish to purchase a parcel from the county. The address is 3003 Brandis for a purchase price of $250. Due to COVID-19, City Hall is closed. As requested, this letter is being forwarded for review by council. Is the property vacant or does it have a structure on it? The property currently has no structure. It remains vacant. What are your plans and intentions for the property? Maintain landscape, garden potential to build fence. What condition is the property in? My family has been maintaining a parcel since the dwelling burned. Do you live near the property? It is adjacent to my current address, which is located at 3005 Brandis. How will you provide for maintenance of the property, such as responsibilities for mowing, snow removal, rubbish removal, board and seal, etc., and any repairs necessary to bring the property up to code? Maintenance, mowing, snow removal will be provided as needed required. Currently a vacant lot. Thank you for your consideration, Robert Steinder. Okay, we have ordinances for final passage. Ordinance, Council File Number 16182, Council File Ordinance Number 38, 2020, an ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Erie, Part 1, Administrative Code, Title 7, Employment Provisions, Pensions, Articles 149, Firefighters Pension Fund, by amending Section 14901G regarding who serves on the Board of Managers. Sponsored by Mrs. Schaaf, seconded by Mrs. Allen, that council file ordinance 16-182, and now known as official file ordinance 38-2020, be finally passed by city council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City council passes official file ordinance 38-2020 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council file ordinance 16183, official file ordinance 39-2020, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $190,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue received from a Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Greenway Trails and Recreation Program grant from the McClellan Park Improvement Project Phase 3. Sponsored by Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Mrs. Schaaf, the council file ordinance bill 16-183, and now known as official file ordinance 39-2020, be finally passed by city council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. City council passes official file ordinance number 39-2020 by yeas 7, nays 0. I should mention, Mr. President, that we had no citizens to be heard signed up.
Mike, do we have anybody online even waiting or trying to call in? Okay, if we can start with the first one, Mr. Trott. Mr. Trott, are you with us? Or you might have to lock him in. You have to unmute Mr. Trott. I might be muted. Mr. Trott, if you're on, we would need you to unmute so we can start with our citizens to be heard.
Good morning. Am I live?
Good morning. Yes, you are.
Well, Adam Trott, 531 West 6th Street, second floor. Thanks. I'll be brief. I'm hoping that we can have some good sessions on the Bayfront Parkway to implement the kinds of design elements that are still missing from the plan. I know City Council is expecting to get more access to weigh in on the plan as it moves forward, but I'm hoping that it can be a very good synergistic process between the residents, the power brokers, and PennDOT. I'm optimistic that we can do something right here, but I'm just hoping that it's fact-based and that we get the opportunity to work with PennDOT and that PennDOT doesn't just steamroll this thing through as it is today, because it'd be a nightmare if it went through as they have it today. That's all I wanted to say, and thank you for all your work, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, sir. We have another one. Mike?
Okay, we have Joe Qalko that can speak next.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I have nothing to say. I'm just monitoring the meeting.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Council file number 16-184, official file ordinance 40-2020.
Lori, excuse me, unmute yourself, please.
Thanks, Kathy. Council File Ordinance 16-184, Official File Ordinance 40-2020, an ordinance with the 2020 City of Erie budget that sum of $2,500,000 is appropriated from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue. This amount is received by the City of Erie from the Erie Water Works as part of the lease prepayment transaction. Sponsored by Mrs. Shaw, seconded by Mr. Brzezinski. The Council File Bill number 16-184, and now known as Official File Ordinance 40-2020, be finally passed by City Council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Council File pass Official File Ordinance number 40-2020 by yeas 7, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council File number 16-185. This is an ordinance. Prior to the issuance of a demolition permit, the contractor or owners must comply with all the code enforcement procedures, ordinances, and conditions. Sponsored by Ms. Allen, seconded by Mrs. Shaw. Council File Ordinance 16-185 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Council File number 16-185 read and adopted by City Council, nays 0, yeas 7. Council File number 16-186, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $108,745.71 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof, contributions from the Department of Homeland Security 2019 Fire Prevention and Safety Grant. Sponsored by Mrs. Shaw, seconded by Ms. Allen. The Council File Ordinance 16-186 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Council File Ordinance 16-186 has been read and adopted by City Council on first reading. Nays 0, yeas 7. Okay, Council File Ordinance 16-187, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $102,500 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. The contribution is from the Department of Homeland Security 2019 Fire Prevention. Sponsored by Mrs. Shaw, seconded by Ms. Allen. The Council File Ordinance 16-187 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Winarski. Council File number 16-187 passes at first reading by yeas 7, nays 0. Okay. This takes us to new business.
Wasn't there a few more first readings?
Nope.
Mr. President,
Demolition.
there might be a few more first readings to go. Yeah.
I read them all.
Okay.
185, 186, and 187.
Okay. You say so.
Move the balance.
Second. Any separations, council? Hearing none.
Motion to move the balance of the agenda. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Brzezinski, Mr. Keys, Mr. Shaw, Mr.
All righty. You were muted, but that's okay. We're going to committee reports. Miss Allen, do you have anything this morning?
I do, just a few things. The first one is that I attended the New American Council meeting last week, and I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing. It was 2 hours long, but Nikan ran a really good meeting to explain what's happening with the Welcoming Cities Initiative, and also had statistics on there that between 2013 and 2020, there were 2,636 new citizens sworn into, be American citizens in our city, representing 96 countries. I think that that's really important to stress. We've been through a lot of turmoil in the last 4 years in terms of immigrants and refugees, and we know that they make our country not only vibrant, but they contribute to our economy. One of the meeting was really good. We also heard from Michael Outlaw. We broke into small groups, and it was a really interesting discussion about even, people talk about identity politics, but one of the discussion points was, how long are you called a new American? And so it's really interesting because we used to talk about people being first generation immigrants, and at some point then you just become American. So I think that there's really positive things happening there. That discussion also, and also in terms of some of the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, including attempts at voter intimidation in Erie in Erie County with flyers from the KKK. That was very disturbing. I think it would be really important for City Council to consider following in the footsteps of Erie County Council, which has declared racism to be a public health issue. We can look at what County Council passed, and we can look at it and say, how can this be more than words? How can we amplify and build upon the mayor's message that he wants to eliminate, racism and prejudice in our city? It seems to me that has to be an overarching goal for not just the administration, but for council. So I think that we should, take a look at what the county did and figure out where we can go from that and what we can do uniquely as city representatives to eradicate that public health issue. And speaking of public health, I was also thinking, especially in light of the increasing numbers of COVID cases, it would be helpful maybe, and I don't know, Renee, maybe this is another briefing update, might not have to be a study session, but I think it would be helpful to hear from wastewater treatment plant about our participation with BioBot, which is a tech company started by, I think, an MIT graduate, which is sampling wastewater at more than 400 cities across the country to give an early warning about where COVID is being detected. So I think it's something that would be helpful to let our citizens know. I mean, we get some periodic updates from Dr. Nadworny about that, but I think it would be helpful to let our citizens know that Erie is participating in a, high-tech process that has direct impact on public health. We also know, if you look at the zip code statistics on COVID, it's everywhere. And if in particular, if you look at 16503, and if you look at now the percentage of African Americans who have been affected by COVID, those 16503 has become steady, and the percentage of African Americans now, it's sad when anybody gets COVID, but it more reflects our population. So those outreach efforts in so many areas are to be commended, because that's been very helpful. So a fourth thing I thought of, and this isn't really a committee report, but I've been thinking about all the various repository sales where people are acquiring side lots. And I think that might fit in with the Groundworks initiative that Kathy Rosdick is bringing to us, which will involve having youth and adults working on various city improvement projects. I think it might be neat sometime. I don't know where we would highlight this. Could be done virtually, but you see a lot of people saying, I'm going to take care of this yard. I'm going to put a garden in. My kids are going to have more room to play. Wouldn't it be neat somehow to catalog how many of those lots have actually been transformed? I would think it's an easier get to buy a vacant side lot and say you're going to fix it up. We know that oftentimes when people acquire actual properties in repository sales, it becomes a huge issue to try and, I'm going to fix this house for my family. And it turns out that, a $250 house often has a lot more problems than people have resources. So just another thought to think of. I don't know if that would fit into the Groundworks, but it occurred to me that we could even do a sampling of, or self-reporting. Tell us what you've done on your lot. And beautifying has a way of catching on in a neighborhood. And one last thing, there is going to be some type of rally in Perry Square today at noon. It's a democracy, count all our votes rally. And I am not quite sure who all is involved in promoting that, but it's a beautiful day to maybe, stand up socially distanced and remind everybody what democracy is all about, starting at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ellen. Ms. Schaaf?
Thank you, Mr. President. So it's my turn to talk. As for a committee report, I wasn't able to attend the HRC meeting that they had this month, but they are looking for attorneys for the board, and the attorneys will be paid $175 an hour. So any attorneys out there willing to jump on HRC, thank you. I also was not able to attend the EMTA meeting, but I did talk with the administration there, and their Lyft ridership is wonderful. I mean, that has really increased, but the ridership in general is 70% down still. So, that is still a concern, but the buses are definitely clean. Yesterday, I was outside raking, and my driveway is a bus stop, and a gentleman was waiting for the bus, and my bus route has limited the times, so he had to go back to his place and wait before coming out again. But the bus is still riding, but some of them are on different times, so you have to make sure. I did want to bring a few people into the conversation. Thank you to people like my friend Karen Hunter, who has made many, many, many scarves, and she was able to donate those scarves to the MS Soup Kitchen. So the people will be receiving beautiful scarves because of her talent that she has contributed to the community. And Thank you to people like Freda Tepfer, who was working the polls yesterday, Democracy in Action, and a lot of people volunteered their time and really, went out there. So we had a wonderful historic Democracy in Action yesterday. Thank you to all the people who volunteered their time. We still have homeless in Erie City, and it's getting colder out. So thank you to all the people who are addressing the concerns of our needy during this time of COVID. COVID is definitely out there. I am myself quarantined at this time for exposure. You never know what will happen in your life. So you just have to be patient and thank people who assist you. And I am very grateful to all the people who are helping others in their need. I'm concerned about, I'm looking forward to the Port Authority study session. You know, I'm very concerned about if any businesses will be affected by their road. I know the first thing that I do when I go to a new place is always look and see what the family activities are. And in our travels with our family, my children have always gone to miniature golf adventures because that was always a family activity. And in larger cities, they're even larger than the ones we have here. But the Harbor View miniature golf has been such a mainstay for 18 years. So I hope that they are able to be sustainable in the next year and the coming years. I'm very thankful for the demolition delay vote that we did. I think that's very important. As much as I like progress, I don't like historical buildings being taken down either. So that's all I have for today. This is the month of thankfulness, and just be thankful for as many things as you possibly can, because a positive attitude is really important in your life to balance well-being and whatever. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schaaf. Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just want to report that I want to thank the 201 families in the Spoons League that responded to my Go Vote email. I appreciate them very, very much. Erie Housing Authority is doing quite well. They have no report of any of their workers with COVID at this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mel. Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple updates here. For the Parking Authority, we did talk a little bit in caucus before the meeting about the proposal they're putting together for taking over some of the ticketing, etc. There's some data being exchanged now so that everyone completely knows the financial arrangements, and then the Parking Authority is going to make a proposal to move forward. So hopefully we'll hear from that soon, and be able to move forward with a productive agreement for both the city and the Parking Authority. I just wanted to update some people on the authorities resolution. We talked about that earlier, but the website has been started. The city has done a great job putting that together, and there's still a lot of work to go. It's a start. But the object of that, if you remember the resolution the council passed, is to create more transparency to educate the public on what the authorities do, who's on those boards, and how they could possibly assist or try to apply for a future position. So I think that right now we're hoping to get some people that will be able to offer their skills. A lot of these boards, they will note when there's a board seat open, what type of skills and talent they're looking for. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can offer their skills to help out the city. And internally, I know council, we've discussed it before. We're going to talk further about our process internally for choosing council members to make these choices. So I think we've come a long way in kind of creating this transparency, and I'm looking forward to continuing to move forward. And just to also note from past discussions on the Bayfront Parkway, I know there was one call on that. Council did have council members had recommendations that they put forward, and PennDOT received those. So I'm looking forward to hear from PennDOT on how we can be discussing these issues and the peer review committees. I'm guessing that we'll hear from them at some point soon to see what a schedule for those for that public input and our input will be moving forward. And again, we're all hoping for a transformational project that'll really help our city, help our neighborhoods, and really help everybody as a first step to move forward. That's about it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Mr. Brzezinski,
Am I live?
you are live.
Okay. Port Authority and Civic Center, both I am liaison to. Many good things happening at the Port Authority. At last count, at that meeting, I think they're talking about 12 ongoing projects. On November 12th, we will have a study session, and Brenda will be telling us everything more in detail for everybody. With Casey, the same thing, he'll be here. We have a good chance of having that store at the Civic Center opening. Occupancy is scheduled for sometime the end of this month. So good things happening. Back to the Port Authority. There's a lot of work to be done on that miniature golf course situation. A lot of people are aware of it, and they're worried that it's not going to get moved to the right place. And Brenda will explain all of that completely at that 12th study session. Thank everybody out there who voted and all the people who worked at the polls. It was a long day for everybody. It's probably going to be a long week, but democracy will win out in the end. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. Mr. Keys.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did have the opportunity to attend the Airport Authority meeting. They extended the contract of their executive director. And so there'll be no changes in that direction over the next few years. And so they'll be able to stay on a consistent course on improving our airport. And the new flights from here to Dulles Airport are supposed to start soon. And that's a big win for the city of Erie. Other than that, I'm just happy that everyone exercised their constitutional rights and their citizen rights, went out and voted their conscience yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keys. The only comments I have this morning, naturally, we have our finance meeting following this council meeting. Two biggest concerns that we're getting from our constituents out there is the garbage fee increase as well as our sewer rate increase. So we're definitely going to look into that on how we can offset that one way or another, because I agree with my constituents, to be honest with you, that we just had those increases last year, and there's got to be a way we can do something different to offset that this year. As well as at our finance meeting this morning, we will set up a budget session schedule. We'll see how that goes, and more to follow there. Just so everybody knows, we did that 2.5 million was like a signing bonus per se that we got with the water authority when we agreed to the lease arrangement. And not like we're willing to, or even the administration, to start spending money, but what that is offsetting is the shortfalls we would have this year, as well as the tax lien sale that was going to happen this year. And what the tax lien sale does is it offsets a shortfall that we may have during a year or get us extra money for the following year. And if we can hold off, the longer you can hold off on a tax lien sale, it's more money later. So doing it this way now is more beneficial for us as a whole. Every year we do look into a tax lien sale to see what kind of money it can generate, but this happened. Fortunately, this happened this year where we can not do that at this point, and we had monies to cover it without officially hitting the full dollar amount we were getting from the water authority in the lease deal. We're still around that $96 million range, I believe. But with that being said, that's part of our work we still have to do and look forward to. On a sad note, we're losing lost a Nunzi's restaurant. 70 years, a fixture in our community. I don't blame them for retiring, to be honest with you, but we are definitely going to miss them. We wish them well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Lamus.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few things I want to update you on just quickly. There are several things that we're working on, and I just wanted to kind of, I wanted you to be aware. So as Councilman Brennan mentioned, I'm putting the finishing touches on the authorities, boards, and commissions spreadsheet, and we'll be creating a transparent city growth process for people to apply for open positions on our authorities, boards, and commissions. So that will be coming out soon. Second, we had the RFQ out for artists to make proposals to wrap our bandwagons, our 2 City Very bandwagons, with vinyl wraps. This is going to be paid for through Cafe, and we have 12. We've received 12 proposals. We're in the process now of evaluating those and putting together the steering committee to go through those applications. Third, we're also working on implementation of the Secure Smart City into the opportunity zones. We've sent letters out to several small businesses, nearly 200 of them, and are in the process of following up with them to see if they would be willing to allow us to install a Wi-Fi access point on their building so that we can provide public Wi-Fi, free public Wi-Fi access. So that's ongoing. We have an update. Check in every couple of weeks to see where we are with that. We want to get moving on installation soon. Fourth, the mayor had the opportunity to meet with Arcturus impact investors during Erie Homecoming, and they've set up an Arcturus Erie Opportunity Zone Fund and are now seeking proposals, and they would like to invest $10 million into kind of transformational projects in Erie, and they encourage the mayor to submit applications from the city. So the city is able to apply for that funding, and we're actively looking into that right now. I believe the deadline is end of December, and so we're working on that as well. 5th, we had a great meeting with IRG, his International Recycling Group, a new business that will be located to Erie. They are very green, and this is a new technology that they would be bringing here that would basically allow us to collect 100% of the plastics that we're throwing away right now. Right now, we only collect about 10%, about 90% go to the landfill. So this would allow them to collect it all. They would bring the trucks into the facility, sort it inside, and then they would take it out and distribute it to their customers. There would be no toxins at the Erie plant, no carcinogens, no burning, nothing like that takes place. It's only a sorting process. And this will eliminate all of that plastic going to the landfill. It's very exciting, and they're very community conscious and they love Erie. They're looking forward to getting involved. 6th, Paramount Pursuits. I think we've talked about that with you before, and we did announce at a press conference in August. Paramount Pursuits is an incubator primarily for minorities, immigrants, refugees, and those who are low on the socioeconomic ladder, who are entrepreneurs that are interested in starting businesses, but need assistance, one-on-one mentoring to do that, as opposed to just going straight to the SBDC. And so Paramount Pursuits works, they have a cohort. They've accepted 15 people into it as of right now. We provided them with $50,000 through our CDBG funding this year. And so the entrepreneurs can go through this free of charge. And in addition to the cohort, there are one-on-one meetings. They meet the entrepreneurs where they are and help them develop their skill sets and focus on their individual needs so that they can get their businesses up and running. This group has been very successful in both Beaver County and in the Pittsburgh area, and they have a tried and true method. And so we're looking forward to the results that will have. 7th, we're also working with a crowdfunding loan platform that would provide loans to these businesses. We want to leverage what we're doing with Paramount and with the SBDC. And the goal will be to help to provide 0% interest, 0 fee loans to 12 businesses in 2021. And we'll be having more information coming out on that. Mayor and Jen Hoffman and our Department of Economic and Community Development is working on that very hard. Jen is going to be going through training this month, and we'll have more information for us about how that's going to work. But that's also a very exciting opportunity. I think the loans can be anywhere from $2,500 to $15,000. It provides startup funding for them. 8, I wanted to give you an update on the Home Investment Partnership Program. We, through Veronica Fields in our Department of Economic and Community Development, we're using funding from HUD for first-time home buyers and home rehab. Those who are income eligible can receive up to $24,999 for first-time home buyers or to bring their homes up to code. And Veronica Fields, as I said, runs that program. She's in the process of taking applications and checking people's eligibility and getting projects on the move. And then finally, the Groundwork Trust, as Liz mentioned, we've been going through a year-long feasibility study, and I think we're only maybe the 20th or the 22nd trust in the United States. This will allow us to leverage potential funding through the EPA service. And the neighborhood groups have been on the steering committee guiding the process. As the brainstorming has been going on, what we're currently looking at is, right now we have several neighborhood groups that have acquired vacant lots that they are, now on the hook for maintaining. And so, for instance, Best has 62 vacant lots that they take care of. That inhibits their ability to do other things like build the capacity of their residents, do neighborhood revitalization. And so they want to be able to focus on other things. So what the Groundwork Trust will focus on is land reclamation, maintenance of vacant lots, for productive reuse, to, get rid of brownfields and blight, and really lift up the communities, various neighborhoods, and empower the neighbors. And so what we're looking at doing is creating an adult core and also a youth green team, which will be trained in the skills of how to do this work, and then will be employed to do that work throughout the neighborhood, so that will free up the neighborhood groups to focus on the other work that they'd like to be able to do. So those are very quick updates, and we'll be getting more information to you on all those things as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. We do have our city controller with us this morning, but she has nothing to report. We do have the mayor with us also, and I know you normally don't like to comment at our morning meetings, Mayor, but you took the time to join us this morning, so I'm sure you can make a comment or two.
I'll just thank you. It's been a good meeting. Renee gave you a real excellent report on what's going on here in the city. I appreciate that a lot, Renee. And thanks for the good work you're doing. I look forward to the Finance Committee meeting next. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
for Renee, do we still have the mobile police unit?
You mean the Quebec unit?
I mean, I haven't seen it in years. I don't know if it's parked somewhere or did we get rid of it?
I will have to inquire.
Actually, I think that's what we used when we went around to the neighborhoods the 3 times. That's what we used for that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think with what we have going on, maybe we should try. I don't know if we can or not, but try to activate it in the same manner as we did when we first received it. Just a thought. Just think about it. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Betza, do you have anything this morning?
I do not.
Good answer. No, thank you all. We'll adjourn this meeting in about 5. We'll take a 5-minute break, then move on to finance. Thank you. Lori?
Someone scheduled another meeting after. I might can't stay in here. Tell you what, we're gonna be some kindling.
So my minor,
Huh?
it's crazy. I read 2 before I told her to be a citizen, and then said we didn't have any.
Oh, okay.
That's where.
almost hope Biden wins, just so we don't have to put up with all this shenanigans.
Paul, for some reason, I see two of you on.
Oh, be quiet, you just went out.
I was muted too. I was on my phone and then now I'm getting on my computer. Can you see one of me or two of me? Or you can't hear me at all?
I can hear you, but not well.
Okay. I hate to do this. Can you come down here? Because they can't hear me on the Zoom. Unmute yourself. I am unmuted. Should I turn up the volume? Kathy, can you hear me? Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you better now.
Okay, I turned up the volume. That was way too loud then, wasn't it? You're okay or not? Brian King, I think I'm okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Kathy says better, so okay. All right. Thanks, Brian. Bye.
Paul, are we doing the October financials too? Or just,
I sent that out this morning.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you want to talk about.
What are you gonna, well, okay, I have the budget stuff too. I just wanted to download it so I have it.
Yeah, this morning we sent out the budget summary, just the 9-pager, because the full budget, the full revenue and expenditure report for October is really not in yet. Like Berkheimer, we're still only up through last Thursday, and Ed's probably still working on real estate taxes. So that won't be posted hopefully until Friday or Monday. And then I gave you a little recap on where the water lease money is. And then we sent out the budget handout book this morning also. And then we gave the budget books. Everyone should have their budget book. And then I also put all this stuff down in your inboxes too, when I went down about an hour ago.
All right.
Mr. President, are we ready to proceed?
Mr. Winarski's not here in the chambers yet.
Fellow colleagues in City Hall, are you there?
Can you hear me, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not ready yet.
Thank you.
The president's not in the room, and Brzezinski's not. Keys is here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
either need to come in here and listen to it on a time delay on the government access TV, because I can't log on my phone or the computer. I don't think I'm invited. I mean,
We'll have to get Frank to
I
fix
think
that.
you have to be on the list of people that are allowed to join. Because it told me my password was incorrect for the council meeting. Your password is so that you can participate. I probably needed the government, just the public access password.
We'll talk to Frank next week.
Yeah, he needs to include Andrew, Chris,
Yeah.
Christine, and Kim, and any of the department heads that need to talk, all that. Like,
That's-
Paul, good morning. We can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Lisa's standing at the door we're talking about. She can't get on the Zoom, so we're gonna talk to Frank next week about getting that straightened out. So when we have the budget sessions, I guess I'm talking to you now, but Jimmy probably needs to know this too. As president, when we call in the department heads, Lisa can't get on the Zoom because the password we have, I guess, is only for me. So we'll have to have Frank set it up so everybody, when David and Chuck and Dan and his command staff and everybody can then get on and talk.
They would just need to click on the link that's in the calendar invite
Yeah, we fight.
so that they can register independently, and then they'll be able to get in.
oh, I did get a register. I couldn't.
Yeah, I agree with Renee. They should be able to get in without a problem.
Maybe I should go register.
I guess if you want to.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
We have some people who have meetings. We're going to have to get this show on the road.
Okay.
Madam Vice President, I suggest you take over until the president returns.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to proceed with our finance meeting. Hopefully, our colleagues in the city will join us shortly. Good morning, Mayor Joe and staff. Renee, thank you for attending. And Mike Gleason, if you're listening, get those guys rounded up. Thanks. And Paul Lichtenwater, you're on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To start off the finance committee meeting, I sent out 3 different emails this morning. One, I guess in order, the first thing I wanted to talk about is I just gave everybody a little bit of a recap. There's a 1-page Word document that's a recap of the money we received from the Water Authority and when we got it and where we got it and where it is right now. So to go through that document, the first thing, as you voted on this morning, we got $2.5 million amount, which was part of the lease prepayment agreement. We got that money on October 22nd, and that money right now is sitting in the general fund bank account to be used as a revenue in this year's general fund. I have an A and a B section to that document, and I guess since you already voted on A, that's just a
Hey, Paul,
Yes,
Paul, just before you go ahead. So we have that 2.5, but we're still going to have a deficit, or?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That 2.5 is taking the place of doing the tax lien sale that we had budgeted last year. And I guess if we put that 2.5 in the budget and also do a tax lien sale this year, then we would be close to a zero balance.
So what are we, I mean, I don't know if you, do you want, are we taking steps? So if we don't do the tax lien sale to address, I guess I thought we were going to be able to take care of the deficit for this year, but we're in deeper than we thought. Am I reading your memo correctly?
When we prepared the mid-year report, we were looking at a deficit somewhere between $3 to $3.5 million for this year.
Do we have any other options in addition to this money, the 2.5? Is it tax lien sale or something else? I mean, we're getting down to the wire here.
Right,
we can't end with a deficit, correct? I mean, we have to have a balanced budget. Am I right? We can
end with a deficit because we have a positive fund balance.
Okay.
Coming forward. At the end of 2019, we had a positive fund balance. So accounting rule wise, yes, we're allowed to end a year with a deficit.
But then that would carry over till 2021. And would that impact our use of water lease money for 2021 and 2022?
Yes. Well, no, that money is already being accounted for in the use of the water lease money in 21 and 22. And 23 also. As the mayor's report last week when we handed out the budget, there's about $17 million we want to set aside for use over the next 3 years in the budget. And that goes forward $3 million or so this year, a couple $1 million, which was appropriated into next year's budget, probably about $6 million a year after, and there'll be about $2 or $3 million left to use as part of the 2023 budget.
All right, I still think that this is going to, I know we're going to go over the budget, the proposed budget, and we got the workbook. I really think it's incumbent upon council and the administration to, God, I hate to use the cliche, sharpen the pencil, but I think we can't just accept this year of having people come before us and say, this is what I'm proposing to spend. This is where our revenues are going to be. We really need to do this as not just 3 years out, but 5 years out. And we can't do business as usual. I know that there are, a lot of good things that the administration has done, but what's the date today? November 4th. There's a lot of hard work ahead for council, and I hope that the administration will understand the predicament that we're in and explain it to citizens. They don't, we're already getting blowback about the proposed fee increases. We can't just rely on increases. We need to look at some ways to cut, and better to come from the administration than to have council come in with a axe. So that's all I shouldn't say that's all I have to say. That's what I have to say right now.
I brought this up before, I think, to a couple of council members as we are seeing upcoming retirements, can we look at those departments and see how to maybe spread out the work to still get it done, but not replace people. I hate saying that, but if we only have so much budget, there needs to be some type of give somewhere.
Yeah, while I have all council here, some of the things that we are talking about is using the water reserve fund to balance the budget over the next couple of years and leave the money that we get from the water reserve fund alone for right now. And so we're just throwing that out there for public knowledge. What happened there?
I agree with Jim and Liz in that we are already getting feedback from our citizens who, especially the seniors, it's the seniors that are really seeming to discuss with us that they don't want any more fees because they are financially strapped in their budget.
Am I unmuted?
No, you're not. Slide your screen the other way. The other way. One more. Tap.
Speak. Hi. Ed Brzezinski, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble getting on this thing. I think the first thing that I have to say, and maybe everybody has thought about this, but not enough. This money that we're getting from the Water Authority was supposed to be for one thing, paying down the debt. That money cannot be used to make us look good for a couple of years. That's money for future generations. Maybe I'll be pushing up grass when those people start looking at City Hall and wondering where that money went that was supposed to pay down the debt that we have right now. I spoke before and I told you in 1988, when I was on council the last time, we had a problem. We spent more money than we bring in, and we're still doing it today. I would advocate, as Mr. Keys mentioned, set that money aside. Let's get a budget that's a real budget. With COVID, there could be federal or there could be state money that would bail us out and help us, like they're going to be helping other places. If they see us sitting on that 95 million and throwing 5 here and 3 there and 2 there and 7 there, and before you know it, 12, $15 million of that money is gone. That's not helping us, especially not helping the future of Erie. And I don't want to be gloom and doom, but David brought up a good idea too. There are retirements. Maybe those positions don't need to be filled. We don't know that. And we'll have to find it out in a real budget session. That's where I'm coming from with it. I hope I don't offend people, but I am concerned about Erie's future. That's why I'm here. Absolutely.
So if we don't have any more statements, Paul,
Okay, so moving on with that document, we got that 2.5 million. It's in the general fund bank account. And then part 2 to that is we received the $96 million from the Water Authority on the 23rd of October. We opened up a money market sweep account at Northwest Savings Bank because the last few years that Northwest Savings has been the bank that has paid us the best interest rate. So we're parking that money there until, again, we go through the budget sessions and a decision is made, where to put that money, how we're allowed to invest that money, where we're allowed to, or where I already said where, how we're allowed to invest that money, and then we'll move forward from that. So we did get the $96 million. It's in a new bank account that I think somebody asked me. Nobody can touch that other than the controller and the city treasurer, and obviously they'll make sure that the money's spent properly, or not spent in this case. The second thing to go over this morning is the monthly summary report. And as I said earlier today, being that it's only the 4th of the month, not everything is in. And we talk about the timing of things. The reports you're going to look at, we still have some income tax, one more day of income taxes to come in from Berkheimer, and the treasurer's office is still processing October tax payments. So the expenses are good because we wrote the last checks of the month last Friday, but the revenues between this document and what you'll see posted probably by the end of the week, beginning of next, will be a little different, and they'll obviously be a little higher. But the document you have right now, line 1, our tax income is right now, our real estate tax collections are a little up from last year to this year, which is a good thing based on the beginning assessment that was sent out, that all the bills of the real estate taxes. We've collected about 88.5% of the assessment this year, which is about 99% of what we actually budgeted. And as you know from looking in the handout book, which, if you want to talk about today, the handout book shows that our last 10 years of collections of our real estate taxes have been right around the 90% mark. Also in the taxes, I thought was very interesting, and I keep bringing this up every month, is our LST tax. And when you see the document, it's going to show that our LST tax collections right now are about 76% of the budget, which is compared to last year, we were 79% of the budget at the end of October. So we're falling behind by about 3% on our collections of the LST tax, which is an anomaly based on everything we're hearing about, the 3, 4, 5, 6 months that we were supposed to have the 10 to 15% unemployment. So I guess we'll know much better in about 2 weeks when the third quarter money is all turned in to Berkheimer, and they can give us a report to where we're at. But again, I've said this the last 5 months, maybe based on what we're seeing in the collection of LST taxes, people in Erie, maybe, I'm going to say maybe because I don't know the answer, maybe the unemployment in Erie was not as bad as statewide or national wide. And I'm sure there were people unemployed, but maybe the whole overall of the city wasn't that bad. But we'll see that when all the third quarter numbers come in, and hopefully everybody gets back to the work fourth quarter and first quarter next year.
Paul, what page is that on?
That's right on the very first. Well, that's all on page 2 of your document. It's just the line item that says A, taxes.
Okay.
I'm looking at the full report that we printed out that's not completed yet because we're waiting for all the money to be turned in for the October time period, because there's a timing issue there. So you'll get that thing, like I said, the end of this week, the beginning of next, you'll get the full document, the full 90-page book that we always hand out.
Thanks.
Going down that first page again, you'll look at licenses and permits are up a little bit this year. Franchise fees, the cable fees down just a hair. For the most part, the revenues they're 88% of what we had budgeted compared to last year, 89% at this time of where we had budgeted. So the things of note, again, your cable TV franchise is down just a hair. Our building permits are up a little bit, but they're still not, because of the COVID back in the spring, they're still not to where we had budgeted or where we had the code enforcement department had anticipated last year the building season would be this year. But as we know, when the mayor gives out the LRTA reports every time he has a press conference, I mean, there's a lot of LRTA applications that have been taken out. So the building permits are going to there's going to be a bounce back on that pretty soon, sooner or later. Other line items of note. Sorry about my phone. Other line items of note. The parking fines are up a little bit from last year to this year, and you'll see that in the traffic fines. And then at budget sessions, obviously everybody was going to ask us about how that's going with the collections. Lisa has a report prepared for that showing how that's going, why it's going, and where it's going. Other than that, in the revenue line items, everything's pretty much holding true to where it was either last year or where we had budgeted it.
Well, what can we do about people who need to pay their bills, the refuse? We have that posted on our city website, delinquencies, is that correct?
Correct.
And I was going through them, and there was, I think, like 100 some pages. Am I right?
Yes.
114 pages of people who are delinquent.
Yes.
You know, truthfully, if we could just somehow get some people to pay, then we wouldn't have to have these increases.
No, Kathy, you're right. And there's actually in the handout book, we updated the page last year that shows the delinquencies for those things. And they have gone up a little bit this year due to the COVID. But once that new ordinance was instituted by council a couple years ago, the collections are not that bad. We go at about a 98% pace each year on what is billed to what is collected. So, I mean, there's always people that are having financial difficulties that they're not able to pay. So we kind of budget, we budget that every year, or we take that into account in our budget. That's page 70 on the handout book, which I really didn't want to go into that yet, but
Michelle,
pardon me?
Ed Brzezinski butting in here for a second.
No problem.
And I have asked, and I asked again today at the treasurer's office, I would like to see, and I'm going to be soon getting a list of multiple property owners who are playing that delayed tax paying game that they play. It's not wrong because of the way the ordinance is written, but they're taking advantage of it. If they're not going to be taken to sale for 3 years, then they're 2 years behind.
Correct.
We need to find out how many of these people are taking advantage of the program, not the people who are hurting that might be a little bit late with their home taxes because of the situation. So we'll have more of that when we start budget sessions. I was promised that we would have a list of the most prominent ones that are in their arrears. And I would submit that there are probably some of them that we're looking at pretty hefty hunks of change. I just throw that out because it's something that we should be dealing with. That's dead money, and it's not their fault. They're using the system.
Who does the legal ad for that? Who does that for the tax sale? Is that
once December 31st hits each year, that the liens themselves and the delinquencies are turned over to the county. So the county's in charge of that. And Ed is correct. You're allowed to be 3 years behind, and that's just a law that's in place. And we turn over probably every year. And there's another handout in the handout book you'll see on page 20 that shows we turn over in the neighborhood of $3 million a year or so to the county on just, January 1st or whenever the file's transferred over there. But it's a considerable amount of money. But that can also be due to, financial difficulties people have. That it's not just, I'm sure, Ed, I absolutely agree with you because when I was in public accounting years ago, there are people that do play that game based on their need for cash flows, but there are also people that are, have a financial hardship where they
but
can't
we could
afford
get
to pay
that
those taxes.
that information, say, from last year, right? I mean, and you could do a sort on it in a spreadsheet to show where, how much. I think Ed Ed Brzezinski is right on this, and it is public information. And I think that, you know, bringing it to light is something for those who are hurting to know. I look at those, it's, you know, you have to scan through it all, but you look and you say, oh, here's this person again doing this, or this particular company. I think Ed has pinpointed something that we need to at least, you know, if it's not going to be published till January of 2021, we need the January 2020 information. Okay. I mean, if it comes from the county, that's fine, but just tell us how to get it from the county.
I think my first call will be to Kaz to find out, you know.
Okay. Ed, can you call Kaz would you call Kaz to follow up on that?
You have to slide it over.
Slide it over.
To tap to talk again.
Ed B, would you follow up with Kaz to get us that information?
Yeah, Miss Ellen, I talked to Mr. Williams this morning and he told me
Okay.
he's got a rough draft of it. So we'll have it in our hands pretty quick. And I'll call Kaz and back it up today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It might go off on its own.
Okay, then continue on the first page of the general fund, looking at the expenses and salaries in particular. Salaries are up a little bit by a couple $1 million, but those are all contractual. Some of the unions have had raises. You'll look when you get the final document. Again, the summary just shows that salaries are up a couple $1 million. You'll see that overtime is down this year. Salaries are up, it's contractual in nature. And the biggest thing in that salary and wage line item that happened was the employee payouts are up considerably this year. And those are all contractual with the police and the fire when they retire. So
Talking about police, Paul, do we have any information on how their meetings went?
Ed Betts is working on that as we speak. And they're still in negotiations at this point in time, so.
You know, you talk about contractual, and when we get to the budget document, I am going to remind people of the strong recommendations from PFM about why we're in this pickle. It's not just because of wage increases. We say that, you know, okay, we've addressed the pension dragon, but we haven't finished addressing the pension dragon, because the way we addressed it was to change the forecast for what the rate of return would be and to put more money into it. We heard, and I want to know if in the budget document it says that now we're prepared to look at you know, the types of retirement benefits that we're offering to both bargaining and non-bargaining people. We found out from PFM that we're like the only municipality in Pennsylvania that's offering 401k-like pension plans and actual pensions. So we're going to hold your feet to the fire on this, because this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. After the water stuff, we're done. We have the water. This is not sustainable. LRTA that was passed by council does not start to reap benefits other than the licenses or permit fees. LRTA is not going to give us additional revenue for a long time down the road. And I really need somebody in the administration to join council and say, council, you're right. So be prepared for tough. I'm sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Be prepared for tough budget questions this time. And I think that unlike in years past, we have some additional people on council who are going to be making the case for some transformational changes. You did it with code enforcement. That's organizational. So where are the transformational changes going to come in terms of how this city's finances are working.
Hey, Liz, if I could, it's a Pennsylvania law that we have to keep the pensions for the police and fire.
But Michael, we have new employees that have come in. Look, did you look at the PFM recommendations?
I have.
Okay.
Well, let's
What
digress a
I'm going to
second.
do at the next council
Well,
meeting,
let's
I'm going to
digress a
read
sec.
the salaries of police and fire. They don't have names attached. I'm going to be like one of those people who does, a filibuster for Congress or for the Senate, and I'm going to read $110,000 X, $98,000 X. Citizens have to know how much we are paying for public safety and that it's not sustainable. It is not sustainable.
I agree with you. It is not sustainable, and that it's irregularly high for a municipality of this size, or just across the board, actually. But that's the reality of where we are. And I was just saying that the state mandates that police and fire get those pensions. And so that's just not a place where we have the ability to make the changes.
Which is why PFM recommended that we hire somebody outside to work on those negotiations. Ever since I've brought that up, my good friend Ed Betza has really not talked to me. That was not a slam on Ed Betza. I have no idea why we had the state pay money for a financial report where we haven't followed through. Keep this up and I'm going to go get my MBA in finance. I can't go to law school, but maybe I can get my MBA in finance a little quicker.
Let's get through the book.
Paul?
Moving on. Down the line, you'll see the services and supplies are both down about $200,000 from spending last year to this year. So we've saved about $500,000 from the mayor's edict that instead of ordinary and necessary spending, everything has to be emergency spending. So, and there are things in there included in the services and supplies. Those numbers look, $1 million, $2 million, but a lot of that, we spend $500,000 a year on gasoline and diesel fuel. We spend X amount of dollars on electricity and national fuel to heat all the buildings. So there's a lot of what in accounting terms are variable expenses.
What buildings?
Well,
Not our chambers.
that chambers will be, I have on good authority by next Wednesday, the furnaces should be working. So that really takes us through the general fund. Again, you'll see in your full book the changes, and any questions you have on those, please give me a call. Page 3 in the monthly handout is the sewer revenue fund. Revenue wise, our city charges are about $500,000 ahead of where they were last year at this time. But we did raise rates last year. So the usage, the CCF usage per household, it's not the households that have gone down. It's our governmental and municipal and industrial and manufacturing. Those are down. The schools have been closed, for months. A lot of the manufacturing concerns in Erie, we're not working at 100%. So just the flow has been down.
Hey, Paul, I have a question. I don't know if I saw it. What are the anticipated rate increases for the sewer and refuse?
About a dime per CCF. So the average household, we're anticipating a couple dollar increase for the average household, but that's about 10 cents per CCF usage. So most households use around 18 CCFs each quarter, how much flow you have. So it's an increase. 3% is the increase itself, if that helps better, Michael. We're going from,
Okay. So what's that come out to an average household?
but in your book, it's $78 and 78 and a quarter.
$7 a quarter?
That's for the average household.
78.
Yeah, remember, sewer is based on your water usage. So if you have a household where, like the Lichtenwalder household, when Claire and Charlie are both home from school, and we're running the washing machine and the dryer, and we're using a lot of water. Same with you, Jim. I know you're laughing at me, but yeah, as opposed to a single person that doesn't use as much water, averages is just an average of what everybody uses.
I need to speak about that a little bit, if I may. Being an older person, so to speak, I have a lot of these people calling me. And, you just talked about the water usage hikes up the sewer fees. Well, a gentleman told me that he pays more in sewer over the summer from, say, May until September because of his garden and things like that, because he's spraying water in his garden and taking care of his grass, he's paying more for sewer. And I explained to him, like you explained, that they're connected, but it still
Doesn't make it fair.
doesn't make sense to him because he's paying more in 3 months than he's paying for the other 9. I just thought I'd slip that in there.
Or fill your pool.
If you fill, yeah, a pool, okay, you can pay. But the guy just has a garden, so he doesn't have to pay to buy vegetables.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Sewer bill. That's all. I'm done.
Okay, so yeah, I guess then, Michael, to answer your question, it's about a 3% increase per
Average homeowner increase
$70
per year is what?
per year. Then it's going to be about $10.
$10 additional for a sewer.
Yes.
What about garbage?
Garbage, we're looking at going from the 261 up to 271, about $10 there too.
A quarter or a year?
A year.
And Paul, I know we talked about last year, what we wanted to do is have incremental increases each year instead of waiting 3 or 4 years and then having to have a really big increase for homeowners. And that's why we were just trying to do it minimally. The average homeowner would be looking at a total of $20 per year. As opposed to, if we waited 4 years, then it would be like $80 all of a sudden they would have to come up with.
How about if we stop taking money from those tour authorities and give the people a break? Crazy little things that people that are working don't think about. But folks on a fixed income, they got to put a stamp on those payments to send them in. That sounds dumb to us. It's what, $1.04 or whatever, but it adds up over a year. And folks on a fixed income are on a fixed income. And we got to give them a little bit. If we don't raid those two authority funds quite as heavily, maybe we don't have to take money out of the pockets of the poor. That's all I got to say there.
What concerns me is how many people I personally know that have unfortunately moved out of Erie to the surrounding townships. Right down my own street, a few houses away, a person was affected by COVID and lost some income. Their house is up for sale. They're going to Harbor Creek. I see it more than I don't see it. I know that the housing industry is sustainable, that, you know, people are moving in and out. But for me, I see, unfortunately, it just bothers me when we know people that are going out instead of coming in. Paul, the building, do we have any savings because of less water being used, less electricity, less toilet paper, less paper towels? Can you shut off certain parts of the building that people aren't being in?
Kathy, there are some savings in electricity and heating bills, but most of the offices have people in and out on a daily basis. So it would be difficult to, you know, shut areas off.
I think we do, and we should be turning off lights if nobody's in an office. I know at the mayor's office that happens all the time, but hopefully it happens in all of them.
Yes.
I had to talk to somebody in my family, but when you're talking about the rate increases, and I do remember talking about, you know, gradual increases, but is part of this also because of increased cost to administer those bills? Is that broken out as part of the water lease agreement? Didn't we say we were going to pay more for Erie Waterworks to do the billing?
That is included in the budget, yes.
How much is that?
It's another almost $400,000. It's in your other services and charges in both the sewer fund and the refuse fund.
So isn't part of the increase then to make up for having to pay more for that?
Well,
I mean, that would be like the way I would think it might be, instead of just, well, we got to raise this gradually.
Well, with any budget, there's always increases to line items and decreases in line items. So that does come into play, and it does come into affecting what is done with the overall budget. Yes.
Paul, how are we doing?
So the sewer fund revenues are up and flow is down. The next one is the garbage, page 4, the garbage and refuse department. Again, you'll see that the collections are up, but we had budgeted a little bit, or we had raised the rates this year. So we're on pace to be where we're normally at. As we talked about a little while back, that the collection percentage is hanging right around the 98% that it normally is. There's really, going down through the line items there, I have no notations that make anything, you know, nothing of note that you'll see in your complete revenue and expenditure report. Next, page 5, the golf fund. Golf fund had a pretty good year this year, as everybody knows. You know, there wasn't a lot to do, so golf was up. The next page, liquid fuels. We're almost done with the paving season, so you'll see that we've almost spent all the money in the budget there. And then the last couple capital improvements, you approved the transfer of the money to replenish the capital improvement bank account. So you'll see that we'd spent about $485,000 this year in capital improvements. And one of them is, Jim, the furnace system. And then the last page is the debt service, which we've made all our debt payments on time. But the page before that, page 8 of 9, I think, risk management, as last year we had one of the worst years ever as far as our health insurance and the spending we had on employee health insurance. This year we're having a pretty good year. As you'll see on page 8, our personnel benefits in in the risk management fund are down over $1 million this year. So, you'll get your complete book, like I said, the end of the week. Any departmental questions you have, please give me a call. Any specific line items, please give me a call. And then I guess maybe, Jim, the last 15 minutes, do you want to spend talking about a plan for the budget sessions, or?
Yes, I do.
Anything specific in the budget book, or? I know
One thing I did want to ask, Paul, before we mention that, the parking authority, I know I had called you earlier this week just to say if there's any progress with whether it's a municipality agreement or an agreement with the city and them. Is there any progress to that?
That is continuing as we speak also.
But you do have it budgeted for us to
Yes.
get.
The same thing as last year, yes.
Okay. I have a feeling that's going to be a part of the topic. At one point here, we need to know if we're getting that kind of money, $400,000 or not. That's a chunk of change per se.
Well, Mayor, can I speak for you in this? The mayor's in the negotiations with the parking authority, with whatever happens moving forward, the mayor's, at least from a budgetary standpoint, and I think everybody that works here in the administration has heard, any new contract or any new agreement, municipal service agreement between the city and the parking authority will not be to a disadvantage to the city of Erie government. So however the money shakes itself out, we should be sitting in the same situation as we are now.
At least this situation, if not better.
Yes.
I say if not better, okay.
Yeah. Then before, Jim, you take over, I also emailed everybody their preliminary budget handout book this morning, and I put a copy in your inbox at City Hall. It's council chambers. So we have almost 100 pages this year. As you get a chance to take a look at this, if there's anything else anybody has, questions about, or anything you want us to put some information together on, please give me a call and we'll do our best to get that done for you.
Oh, are we able to schedule our study sessions at this time?
I think I was going to turn this over to Council President Winarski and let him decide.
I think
my team is available. We'll make sure we're available whenever council is ready. You call me up and I will talk to the police chief, the fire chief, Dave, and make sure everybody's available whenever you need us. And then I know, not to speak for Jim, I know each council person will speak to their liaison, multiple times. I know Kathy and I will talk about this, that, and the other thing. And I know, and I don't have my list in front of me, and Liz, your first name in front of me, you'll talk to whoever your liaison to and find out what they did and how they did it. So we're all available. We're all ready whenever you are. So then, Jim, I'll stop there and let you take over.
I have one thing, Paul. Could you I don't want a full budget on it, but could you show us what a budget would look like, not touching Santa's money? You know what I'm talking about, the water authority. The water money.
Yeah.
Keep it at 12 or 15 million. We're not going to play Christmas with it. At least I'm not. Thank you.
I can do that.
Okay.
I think we also have to realize that COVID has affected us, pretty seriously, and that I seriously think we really should not increase salaries this year. I'm sorry to have to say that, but if I can live with what I'm living with and have lived successfully this long, you know, other people can stretch and find out where they can save too.
Okay. Let me make sure we're on here. Back to, I don't know what people's schedules are. I don't know if, since this week's shot now for any sessions, I don't know if we start Monday, November 9th, if a Monday's good for anybody or isn't good. I know, I was thinking Monday, no, tentatively now. I mean, we can, you guys can check your schedule and ladies check your schedule and we can adjust from there, but I know they do have to advertise, but well, sitting here, I was thinking Monday, November 9th, and I don't know if 6 o'clock is a good time for everyone. I'll be honest with you, 5:30, it makes it tough for me personally, but I don't know.
Monday,
If it's
I'm not available.
And then I know. So when's the deadline? How many days? Deadline for what? End of year.
Mr. President, Monday is not, I'm not available.
Alrighty. I know we have to, go ahead.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we use our Thursdays study sessions for the budget sessions. That covers the having it to be publicized, and it's something that we ordinarily make ourselves available on that day anyway.
I have no problem with that. The only thing is our very first Thursday, we do have a study session with the Port Authority and the Convention Center Authority. I have no problem with adding a budget session to that if council's in agreement. And I have no problem with going Thursday after Thursday to go on with the budget sessions from there.
I don't think you'll have enough Thursdays
Yeah.
to get through all the departments. I mean, one of them is Thanksgiving too. So in
That's
November,
correct,
you
too.
will only have the 19th. And we have police, fire, public works. We also have the Department of Planning now, Department of Economic and Community Development.
Okay.
Treasurer. We have a lot to run through. I want to
agree.
say, I don't know if anybody remembers, how many did we have last year? 9? Somewhere around that? Does anybody remember?
We had a lot.
Yeah.
We had a lot because I had to, we had some back-to-back Monday, Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Mr. President, I suggest that we set it up, and those of us who can make it, will make it.
I have no problem with that if that's,
So,
because we do have to get more than one a week. I agree with that.
yeah.
You know,
We
once
also
again,
use Thursdays too.
I was also thinking our Wednesday, November 18th meeting, if we wanted to do a budget session before the meeting, that may,
or after
since
the
we're all
meeting,
going to be together already, maybe we could start at 6 o'clock on that Wednesday and then have our council meeting.
that would work. Yeah.
That would be fine too. As far as adding a budget session with the Port Authority, I don't know how long
That
the
might
port
be for a long night.
exactly. My attention span, you know, I stretch it as much as I can, but that's going to be a long. And because the budgets are important, you know, very, you know, this financial matter is very important. So we want to have our heads clear.
What do you expect from the Port Authority and the Civic Authority?
We need to have transparency as to how they've been affected by COVID and what their future plans are, and how they can contribute to our community as a whole. Thanks.
All right, no, that's fine. I just wanted to see where we were going with it, because it is important.
Right. No, that's why I want to give them as much attention as I can. I've been concerned with no income coming in from entertainment taxes and, just overall what we can or cannot do with entertainment because of COVID. And I think, unfortunately, according to Dr. Fauci, COVID's going to be something that's with us this winter season.
Start on Tuesday next week, and then it's the day before we have other study sessions. Right.
What I'll do is, and if it's all right with everybody,
Well, Jim, as everybody's not going to get a chance to talk to their liaison, do you want to start off next week, one of the nights, and we'll just talk about revenues?
we can do that.
Yeah, and I'll go through line by line and explain to everybody where these numbers came from and how they came up. And that way we're not pushing it back a week. So everyone gets to talk to their liaison. That's not an easy one. That's one that I don't need anybody else there, other than my team. Lisa, Christine, Kim are fine. And we could talk about, I could go through revenues in an hour or two. We could have Chris talk about risk management that night also. And that way that could get us, we're going to talk about those things eventually. So if we get those out of the way the first week, maybe the revenue side of this gets everybody understanding, what money we have, how we have it, and where we have it, and what we have available.
Yeah, and then maybe the following week we can do whether it be a Monday or Tuesday. I would suggest Monday, and then do Wednesday morning, and then possibly Thursday the 19th. Get 3 of them in the week of the 16th. And then follow up maybe with one before Thanksgiving on top of that.
Yeah.
What I'll do is we'll get a tentative schedule out there, see how it fits everybody else's schedule, and go from there. How's that sound? But to get the ball rolling, I agree with Paul with the revenues, and then we can move from there.
I have
Sound
a
good?
quick question too. Now with the Department of Planning and Neighborhood Resources, was anybody assigned to be liaison with Kathy Rosdick?
I'm going to say no, not in this.
Renee, I can do that because I've done, blighted property and land bank. So, and even neighborhood growth partnership, but I haven't actually gone to a lot of those neighborhood growth partnership meetings. So I'm happy to volunteer for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sold.
One other question. When we have this dog and pony show, when everybody comes in and tells us why they need all the money they need, how about if we ask them how they can cut 5 or 10% from their budgets? Let's get real, because we're talking about our city's money, and everybody would like to have, and everybody's doing a good job. But I got to think there's a lot of dead money hiding. You know how that works. If I've got $10 in the budget and I only spend 8, then next year I only get 8.
Or if I get 10, I want to make sure I spend the 10 because I'm going to lose it.
That's all. I'm just concerned about the future of Erie, guys. And thank you.
That sound good to you, Ms. Schaaf? Okay, with that, I believe we can close our meeting.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Jim, so when's our next meeting now?
Tentatively Monday or Tuesday, which we'll send out. We're gonna have Pauline send out a tentative budget schedule and see how it works for everybody. Because we can go and say, I can make and not make. It'll be easier if we get something out there to start with and then go from there. But we're definitely gonna have one next week with Paul regarding revenues. And then we'll follow up the following week because we do have a study session next week also. So we have two things going on next week. And then maybe the following week, include with our council meeting, we can fit in two or three, at least two budget sessions. And maybe one on the day of our council meeting. But we'll get a tentative schedule out there to see, get the feelers out there, see how it works for everybody.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mayor Joe. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, colleagues. Thank
I
you.
was just going to suggest, I don't know anybody who's done a doodle poll, but that they can look intimidating, but they work to figure out who can attend what. So any group I've been on where we try and figure out when we can meet, that helps to narrow it down. Just a suggestion.
Okay, we can suggest that to the girls in the office if they're familiar with that, and I'm good with that also.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I've done that as far as having people send them to me.
Yeah, somebody will know how to do it. It's train the trainer time. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Have a good, thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Doodle poll.
I don't like, I'm gonna meet Jill.